long as the Arabs fight tribe against tribe, so long will they be a little people, a silly people, greedy, barbarous, and cruel, as you are.
Ah, yes, Lawrence of Arabia. What a great motion picture that is, visually beautiful. The David Lean movie, such a wonderful motion picture, Lawrence of Arabia. And it's a story of a proud British Army officer in World War I. T.E. Lawrence. Full of great stuff like that. So will the Arabs be a little people, a barbarous people. Peter O'Toole, of course, as T.E. Lawrence, as Lawrence of Arabia, British Army officer. Saudi Arabia, World War I, fighting the Turks. You know, like the song lyrics, Lawrence of Arabia. He was an English guy, he came to fight the Turks. It's a song. But in England, they have a lot of lefties there. In London, in Britain, in the United Kingdom. Pick a name. And here's the headline today. Pretty appalling stuff, I've got to say. Lawrence of Arabia portraits handed a trigger warning over cultural appropriation of Arab clothing. T.E. Lawrence, British Army officer, fighting the Turks, were in there World War I. The Turks were among the bad guys, the Germans and the Turks, and, you know, the axis of evil and all that. And the British in the Middle East going into Saudi Arabia because the Turks were in there and working with the Saudi, the Arabian tribes, the Arab tribes on the Saudi peninsula, the House of Saud, as they became. And listen to this now. Portraits of Lawrence of Arabia wearing traditional Arab clothing, just like in the great movie, have been handed a trigger warning in one of London's most popular galleries. The National Portrait Gallery, not the one in Washington, D.C., the one in London, has attached the warning to several pictures of the First World War legend listed on his website. Now, this is great. The gallery said portraits showing Thomas Edward Lawrence wearing a thobe, the long white robe that men wear in Saudi Arabia are called thobes, it's a thobe, and headdress, quote, may differ from today's attitudes. So because is that what he was wearing at the time? Yeah, okay. And they got a trigger warning there now in London. This is a historical work of art which reflects the attitudes and viewpoints of the time in which it was made. I think people knew that before they walked in. You know, the entire National Portrait Gallery in London, you might just put this sign out in front of the building because that would be true of every portrait in there. Whilst, I like this, they use the word whilst on their trigger warning. Whilst these may differ from today's attitudes, this image is an important historical document. Thank you very much for that. The cautionary message is featured below portraits, including a penciled sketch of Lawrence of Arabia dating back to 1919 and a photograph taken in 1917. Photograph taken in 1917. They got a painting, a portrait. They have a pencil sketch. They have a photograph. And they put trigger warnings on all of them because he's wearing Arab clothing, which is what he was wearing while fighting in the desert against the Turks, right? However, trigger warnings are not featured under other portraits where he's not wearing the Arab clothing. Okay. All right. They really like him. He was, it's a pretty amazing story. Then he died in a motorcycle crash and all that stuff. But many other pieces of artwork featured in the National Portrait Gallery, which portrayed people in traditional clothing of various cultures, carry the same warning, including a replica oil painting of Lord Byron in Albanian dress. Albanian, because you don't want to offend the Albanians. A lot of gangsters there. They'll hunt you down and shoot you up. Lawrence was a British Army officer who commanded the Arab Revolt against the Ottoman Empire. Those are the Turks, of course, traveling from Saudi Arabia to Jordan, Aqaba in 1916 to update the map of the Middle East. It's great stuff. It's great history of this versus that and all that. His work and associations earned him international fame as Lawrence of Arabia. In his 1926 autobiography, Stephen Pilar's, it's called, The Seven Pillars of Wisdom, Lawrence of Arabia said Emir Faisal, the king of Iraq at the time, had asked him to wear the Arabian clothing. He wrote, "Suddenly, Faisal asked me if I would wear Arab clothes like him," right? Like his own, while in the camp. And it's these clothes are designed to survive the extreme heat in the desert there and so on. I know it looks like it might be hot, but it's very loose and the air flows through it and it keeps the sun off your flesh. And he said, "I should find it better for my own part," he says, "since it was a comfortable dress in which to live in Arab fashion as we must do. Besides, the tribesmen would then understand how to take me," he said. "If I wore Meccan clothing, they would believe me to be as though I were really one of the leaders," he added. So look, this is great, but they put trigger warnings on Lawrence of Arabia, a pencil sketch wearing an Arab headdress, and I've got to say, man, it's the end of civilization. It's the end of Western civilization. Cowards and weasels.
No prisoners! No prisoners!
Yeah! That's attacking the Turkish troop train, and no prisoners. So they massacred all the Turks, and it was very bad stuff. But that's your stuff. That's nuts. But it gets better. It gets better. And actually, I was going back and forth with one of my brothers, with my brother Mike, and he said, "Did you hear about this Lawrence of Arabia thing?" And I said, "No, I hadn't heard about the Lawrence of Arabia thing." I said, "And there's another one about this too, which is pretty wacky." The National Portrait Gallery in London, a trigger warning for Lawrence of Arabia because he's wearing Arab clothing, which is a sign of a mental illness. But it turns out in Canada, they have a number of television channels in Canada. One of them is called CHCH. It's CHCH-TV. That's what they call it. They show a lot of old TV, like old black and white TV shows on CHCH-TV, right? So now, listen to this. They put a trigger warning on a lot of old black and white television shows, such as Leave It to Beaver. Leave It to Beaver. They put on, and here comes Leave It to Beaver, and they put up a trigger warning. I have it in front of me on the screen here, and they warn you when Leave It to Beaver is coming on. This is Canada, and it's kind of under the umbrella of Great Britain. They should break away, I think, like Greenland should break away from Denmark. That's another discussion. Here's the trigger warning when Leave It to Beaver is about to come on Canadian television. The channel CHCH runs a lot of old TV shows. But listen to this, the trigger warning. "The following presentation is a product of its time. It depicts prejudices that were wrong then and remain unacceptable today." You say remain, they were not unacceptable then, so that's incorrect. Your opening sentence is factually in error. CHCH does not condone discrimination of any kind. This is a warning because you're going to watch an episode of Leave It to Beaver, which always is a morality tale. There's always a moral message in every episode of Leave It to Beaver. It's been used in Sunday schools, Leave It to Beaver episodes, for decades now, all across this great land of ours. Listen to this. "Rather than ignoring past discriminatory practices, exhibiting work like this allows viewers to engage," listen to this, "in thought or discussion," and listen, educates, and this is a social warning, "social justice and inclusivity. Viewer discretion is advised when you're going to watch an episode of Leave It to Beaver." Leave It to Beaver, because it was made in another era, and your sensibilities may not match the sensibilities of 1961 United States of America. Isn't that amazing? Yep. It's Leave It to Beaver gets a trigger warning on Canadian TV because they say it depicts prejudices that were wrong then and remain unacceptable today. Okay. You guys are mentally ill. You shouldn't be running a television network or anything else. You should be running a lemonade stand somewhere. Isn't that amazing? Disclaimer for people who may be offended by certain episodes of Leave It to Beaver. And apparently they do this to other old black and white American TV shows, too, because of the mental illness of the left. Just extraordinary. Censoring classic TV. Yes, sir. What else do they censor? What else do they have? They've got, yes, sir. Room 222. Room 220. Remember that? I still remember the theme song. Bum, 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 bum. But that's, who is that? The story opens with Karen Valentine. Oh, man. Oh, man. I'm telling you. Trigger warnings. This is the left. Severe mental illness. It is Mailbag Day today. It's Mailbag Day because it's Wednesday. It's Hump Day in the Clinton household. Hillary Clinton defying a congressional subpoena because she's a fascist. She's a Nazi. She's Eva Braun. She wants to be Hitler, though, because, he was a man, and she wants to be a man. But never mind that. Let's go to the mailbag. The first question is from Fleetus. Fleetus with the first question. Chris, is it true that you are in line to be governor of Greenland? How did this get out? More leaks. Did you learn that from anonymous sources? Do you have 7 sources on that? Because, yes, it is true that I'm in line to become governor of Greenland. It's actually not true. No, it's not true, but it's a fun idea. I could be governor of Greenland for like 2 years. Peace and quiet might be nice. The damn Danish might become a pain in the rump, though. They're not just a donut anymore. Now they're a colonial power. No, thank you, Fleetus. Fun idea. I'd like to start spreading that rumor because it would be a fun job. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Pants on Fire asks, so will Ayanna Pressley grow hair for Renee? Since the new protest is shave your head for Renee, because Renee Good, although the lady shaving her head calls her Renee Cook, doesn't even know her name, but she shaved her head anyway because, Turdo, just amazing. So will Ayanna Pressley, radical squad member, Democrat member of the House of Representatives, shaves her head, and boy, she shaves it close too, doesn't she? She's got tight, close shave going on there. Will she grow hair? I suspect not. She loves that kind of space alien menace look, like a psycho killer in an Anthony Zerbe movie. She looks like something from an old science fiction movie. She's kind of terrifying, and she likes it that way. She's going to stay just the way she is. Meep Mop asks, do you play golf or any other sports, or do you just walk everywhere for exercise? Well, that's a fun question. Right now, I work 17, 18 hours a day, and I have a lot of trouble. My best girl got me into golf years ago. She is a great golfer. She has a hole-in-one. She got a hole-in-one, a legit hole-in-one. She's a great golfer, got a swing like a pro. She got me into golf, and I'm never as good a golfer as she is. I can hit longer, but she's a great golfer. And I haven't played golf in years because I just work all the time. I just work all the time. We used to ride our bikes a lot. Haven't been riding our bikes a lot lately. I think, during the Wuhan, a lot of behavioral changes took place because we go out and shoot. That's not too much exercise. We do hike around a bunch, and we need to do more. I need to work less. I need to stick with radio and, not have 2 jobs that keep me busy for 17 hours a day. I need to just do radio. Don't you think? I think so. Somebody call Newsmax and tell them to let me go. That's good. I don't exercise enough. I've never been in worse shape in my life. Between the Wuhan and last 2.5 years, been working 17 hours a day, 5 days a week. I need to get back to, doing some exercise and stuff. And I have 2 more. I have 2 more mailbag questions, which I will share with you shortly. Rural Americans, our American pals, rural Americans deserve access to the very best of what our nation has to offer, especially when it comes to health care. And across every state in our great union and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, our loved ones, grandma or cousins. No matter where you live in this great country of ours, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. And every year, America's more than 5,000 hospitals care for millions of American patients. providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, of course, treating cancer and saving lives, other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients, there are, of course, doctors and nurses, caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families safe and healthy. But right now, some in Congress are threatening access to that care. Tell Congress to protect patient care, to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care. Paid for by the Coalition to Strengthen America's Health Care. I've got a song I want to share about what's going on in Minneapolis. That's coming up too. All right, let's go to the telephones and so much more to get to. Crazy Democrats. All right, let's go to, hey, wait a minute. Unbelievable. Let's go to Mike the Lib. Mike the Lib has called in. Mike the Lib, you are on the Chris Plant Show.
Thank you, Chris.
Hi, Mike the Lib.
I just wanted to talk to you about the ICE shooting in Minnesota and see if we can agree on some basic facts.
Okay. Facts.
Okay. Yes. She backed up her SUV. You agree to that?
Yeah.
She turned her wheels to the right after she backed up.
Okay, sure. Yeah, she did.
The officer was clear of her SUV because the SUV went to the right of him.
No.
Yes.
No. Yeah, we played the soundbite yesterday of the SUV hitting him. And there's video.
No, it never hit him. It never hit him. If it hit him, he would not have been able to do any shots.
He
Could he? Could he?
You,
could he?
Well, we have
Chris, could he?
Could
he? No.
Here's Mike the Lib.
Okay,
now, listen, you sound like a 5-year-old. You say, kitty? Are you 5? Or are you like 60 and retired from the Defense Intelligence Agency? This is the guy who came up with weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Here's the audio. Get out of the car. That is him holding his camera being hit by the car.
No, that's him holding his camera, putting it against his clothing, so he would not video his own shots.
So he would not video his own shots. You mean his gun shots, not his video shots? Well,
no,
Mike,
would not be able to. They would not get a video of him shooting her. That's why
and he's surrounded by people with identical cameras from their front porches to those.
But you're claiming that's the only one.
No, I'm not claiming that. Obviously, Mike the Lib called in. No, we cannot agree on any basic facts because you're delusional, you're mentally ill, and you're a run-of-the-mill Democrat. All right, I have, in the name of love, 2 additional mailbag questions right in front of me. But we just had Mike the Lib there during the short stop there. Mike the Lib. And I got to tell you, I got a federal law enforcement officer said, listening to Mike the Lib, said, he held his phone against his clothing so that they in quotation marks, wouldn't get video of him shooting. Is that the fact that we're supposed to agree on? Because the videos were I don't even know if we've seen his cell phone video. But hang on a second because, hey, Mike the Lib, I hope you're still there and not in a coma or anything. CBS News, I went to their website. They're on the internet now. CBS News, here's the headline. ICE agent who shot Renee Good suffered internal bleeding, officials say. Hey, Mike the Lib, I guess this is part of an elaborate cover-up. But here is CBS News, 11:20 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, January 14th, 2026. Mike the Lib, go look it up. And there's more. Stand by. The Immigration Customs Enforcement agent who fatally shot Renee Good last week in Minneapolis, Jonathan Ross, suffered internal bleeding to the torso following the incident, according to 2 U.S. officials briefed on his medical condition. It was unclear how extensive the bleeding was. You know, if you've got internal bleeding in your torso, that's enough. That's how extensive does it have to be. CBS News has reached out to the Department of Homeland Security for more information and has not yet received a reply. The story will be updated as we learn more. Videos from the scene showed Ross walking away after the incident. They don't mention that videos and that his own video demonstrate that he was hit. Kristi Noem by her using her car as a weapon. Kristi Noem, the Homeland Security Secretary, previously acknowledged that Ross was taken to the hospital after the shooting and was released the same day. How many hours later? What did they discover? What kind of scans? What kind of follow-up? But the news media doesn't care because they all want to be cop killers, I think. She said that he was recovering from his injuries. That's what Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said on the day of, describing him as an experienced law enforcement officer who believed he was defending himself and fellow agents. The officer was hit by the vehicle. See him hit. He went to the hospital. A doctor did treat him. He has been released, Kristi Noem told reporters on January 7th. Ross, a 10-year law enforcement veteran with ICE, was seriously injured in June in a separate incident in the Minneapolis area when he was dragged by a car. First, he had to be hit by a car. When he was hit by a car and dragged by a car during an attempted arrest, requiring 33 stitches and hospital care, court records show. Hey, Mike, is that all part of an elaborate setup from months ago? Because none of it happened, right? U.S. Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bovino told CBS News in an interview Sunday that the officer had had several threats against his life. Sure, naturally, because Democrats. He's in a safe location. He's recovering from those injuries. So it was already said, Greg Bovino already said that he was injured to the point where he was taken away. He was still recovering from injuries. We're thankful that he's recovering. Also on CBS News this morning, they reported the news that they had uncovered.
So CBS News has heard from several officials that that agent, Jonathan Ross, suffered internal bleeding. We've tried to get clarification, exactly the extent of his injuries, and try and learn a bit more about that. Of course, that has become deeply politicized, both here in Minnesota and across the country.
Yes, it's become deeply politicized, both here in Minnesota and across the country. You know why? Because of Democrats. That's why. The Democrats tried to murder him. It was an illegal alien that dragged him, that apparently ran him over and dragged him, there are varying reports, maybe 100 yards. And he was severely injured and 33 stitches and all that good stuff. Just amazing. Just amazing. Yes, sir. 5 years between George Floyd and Renee Georgina Good. And, you know, the police officer that arrested George Floyd, who was resisting arrest, and George Floyd died of cardiac failure. See, Minneapolis Has Fallen, a great documentary done about George Floyd, available on the internet for free. And a great, very, very well done documentary. Makes it clear that George Floyd died of cardiac failure. All the fentanyl in his system and methamphetamine in his system and resisting arrest and career criminal and all that. But that police officer, Derek Chauvin, was charged with murder, found guilty by a Minneapolis lynch mob, and sent to prison where a Democrat stabbed him 22 times. 22 times. And Michael and I were talking about this earlier. And I was imagining stabbing someone 22 times, and I pounded my fist on the desktop 22 times. You know, just... That's only 5. Do it 22 times. That's how many times Derek Chauvin was stabbed in prison by a Democrat. The Democrats want to put this agent in prison because they're a lynch mob. And the Democrat Party's always been a lynch mob. They're the party of the Klan. They're the party of Jim Crow. They're the party of the Confederate States of America. They are the lynch mob. Violent criminals. All right, now, Liz, I have 2 more mailbag questions, and I apologize. So much happened. Mike the Lib called in, and, you know. So last 2 mailbag questions today on Wednesday. It's Mailbag Day. Mark asks, In the past, you mentioned that you were in an attempted robbery in Adams Morgan. That's a neighborhood in Washington, D.C., where I lived for many years. You stated that you only lost your knife. That's true. That's a true story. Did it end up in one of the criminal's gut? Or is there a different story? Well, my attorneys have advised me that I should. I don't actually have attorneys. It's true I was held up at gunpoint by two fine young gentlemen who fit the same description as one another, and they pressed a gun against my jaw. I said hello to them walking by. It was a dark side street where I lived, Clydesdale Place, a little side street in Adams Morgan. And it was late at night. I was often out late at night. And two of them passed me, and I said, hey, how you doing? And then one of them ran up behind me, grabbed me from behind, and a small silver semi-automatic pistol to my jaw. And I was like, hey, guys. I literally said, hey, guys. And then jammed it against my jaw so much that it hurt. So then I had to grab the pistol and wrestle it away. And then I grabbed a knife from my pocket that one of my brothers had given me. And there was a tussle, and there was a back and forth, and there were a couple of punches, and there were no shots fired. And I pushed away in my knife. And the truth is, I never found my knife. I never found it. It's too bad my brother Brian gave it to me, and I never got it back. And then I found this great D.C. police officer. We drove around the neighborhood looking for these guys, but we never got them because, it's D.C. But D.C. police did a good job with it. And it was, even though we didn't catch the guys. But it's, a typical kind of armed robbery thing. I'm glad I wasn't killed because I like living. So that was that. But, yeah, I never found my knife. Never found it. I went looking, and I looked the next day, and it was right in front of my building where it happened. I was just leaving my building. I was headed to Million Al's late at night. They were open late. It was a bar. It was a good bar where I hung out with a lot of cops. Hung out with a lot of cops there, too. And last mailbag question today, Sherry Baby asks, Who is Jason always texting, talking about the Newsmax TV show. Jason is the liberal on the panel. Who is Jason always texting for his used up talking points? That's a fair, I assume the DNC or something. I enjoy watching you destroy him, although he's ruining your show. He says the same thing every night, talks over everyone, scowls the whole show. Well, Sherry, I see you have watched the show, and that sums it up pretty well. Yeah, sits there texting, and my phone is not in front of me during the 1 hour show, the TV show. A lot of people just sit there, and the moment you go to commercial break, they grab their phone and start texting. It's like crack. In fact, people need their phones more than crackheads need crack. Just look at Hunter Biden, after all. But let me tell you, Sherry, I've already photographed your question, and I'm texting it to the Newsmax people because I like to share. And I like to, it's audience research, and I think they need to read it. Why is he always texting? Who is he always texting? He used up talking points and always scowling and ruining your show. I don't disagree with any of that. I don't disagree with any of that. That's good. That's yeah. And we're in discussions. I have resigned, but it's kind of they won't let me. They have lawyers, and I don't. Isn't that terrible? And Renee, it's a friend of mine who's a Catholic priest, said, there's this obvious thing that's been hanging out there that nobody's been doing, because Renee Good was told, get out of the car, get out of the beeping car, get out of the... And then she, Mike the Lib says, then she put it in reverse and she backed up for 3 feet as though that's relevant to anything, because it's not. And then she cut her wheel toward the police officer who had gone around to her vehicle as she's being ordered out of the vehicle. And then Mike the Lib, she's ordered out of the vehicle. These are lawful instructions, get out of the vehicle. And she didn't. She instead punched it. And the police officer, Mike the Lib, we were talking to an actual police officer, a 38-year veteran police officer, who said if you look at where the bullet hole is in the windshield, not the side window, the windshield of the car, the bullet that hit her apparently, allegedly, in the face and all that stuff, you'll see where the police officer was. And Mike the Lib didn't listen to that conversation, but libs are not interested in learning. Libs don't learn. What do they go to? The leaning center, right? They go to the leering. It's not the leaning center. It's the leering center. The leering center. That's where they go. So they can learn to leer. And a lot of them do. They certainly do. Oh, by the way, that CBS reporter was Alma Zak. I wanted to mention that. who said, mentioned that he's got internal injuries and he's still off recovering from the internal injuries. But Democrats don't let facts get in the way of a good story. That's an old journalistic rule. But Michael, because we listen. Michael and I listened very carefully. We watched the video from multiple videos from different angles, and just before. You saw that 3-minute video that was released a couple of days after the incident where she's sitting in her car parked across the road, blocking traffic, right, in her vehicle, blasting music and jumping up and down in her front seat and pumping her fist because she's listening to the music. She's listening to the music inside her vehicle. And Michael and I listened very carefully to the videos, and we were trying to figure out what music she was playing inside of her SUV before she crashed into the police officer, giving him internal injuries in the torso. And best as we can tell, this is the music that Renee Good was playing in her vehicle while hopping up and down in the driver's seat. Just walk away. That's right, just walk away, Renee. See, she was listening to Just Walk Away, Renee, but she didn't listen to her own music well enough, I guess. But Just Walk Away, Renee. And whose version was that? That was the Left Bank. The Left Bank, I think, did it before the Four Tops did Just Walk Away, Renee. But if only she had just walked away, if she had just gotten out of her vehicle, she'd be at home annoying the hell out of her 6-year-old child. Not the 2 children that were handed by the court over to the father of those children, but this one. And just walk away, Renee. Hey, play that at the funeral. What do you think? I don't want to be, but maybe that should be the funereal song instead of one of those dirges. They should have that. And again, now CBS News reporting that the police officer, who should not be named, but speaking of which, I haven't even gotten to that. Did you see that these lunatics? Did you see that the left-wing media reporting, they're calling him a whistleblower. He's not a whistleblower. He's a traitor to his nation. A leftist inside the government dropped the largest ever ICE leak to unmask agents. The Department of Homeland Security, and this is a left-wing, radical, raw story, people website. The Department of Homeland Security, they call him a whistleblower. He's not a whistleblower. He should be arrested and jailed probably, has released the identities of about 4,500 ICE and Border Patrol employees. Did that on Tuesday in what has been called potentially the largest agency data breach for the department in the department's history. I'm glad they corrected the spelling because the first time I read it, it said the agency's date breach, which would be a different thing. The killing of the 37-year-old mother. She's a mother. Mother what? She's a mother, Renee Nicole Good, by ICE. And they named the agent again. Last week in Minneapolis has prompted the leak of personnel. Oh, here it says date, D-A-T-E. They mean to say data. Leak of personnel date to the ICE list, the online database created to promote accountability. There's a left-wing database they say to create accountability. It's doxing to threaten the agents. But a Democrat inside the government that has access to this deep state has leaked the identities of 4,500 Immigration, Customs Enforcement, and Border Patrol employees because they want them killed. The first batch of names was slated to be posted on the site Tuesday night. Members of the public have reportedly also shared information about agents in hotels, and this is the Democrats trying to threaten the lives of federal agents because they're waging civil war against our country. That's the thing. And we've got these people quitting in the Justice Department because allegedly they don't want to prosecute the agent. So they're Democrats, and I'll tell you, if that's why they're resigning the Justice Department, that's good for America. Because they're part of the Democrat Party lynch mob. They're the deep state. 6 prosecutors quit over DOJ push to investigate Renee Good's widow. We don't even know if they're married. The news media, that's the New York Times headline. They don't know what facts are, just like Mike the Lib. Yeah, so CBS News reporting that the police officer that was hit with the SUV by the hero of the Democrat Party. Old Renee, just walk away, Renee. A woman I used to debate on Fox News, Leslie Marshall, got right on Twitter there and said they would not have released him from the hospital if he was internally bleeding. He was released from the hospital very quickly. Really, Leslie? How quickly was he released from that? Were you monitoring him? Are you his medical minder there? Is that how quickly was he released? Sadly, we can't trust the reporting from your network any longer. This is CBS News. Barry Weiss came in as the boss at CBS News, and they have this new Tony Ducapel, the anchor. And the left is declaring war on CBS News because they might report some news that is not pre-approved by the Democrat Party. And I got to tell you, I was going to go to talk about, we got a great caller on the line to talk about Claudette Colvin. Claudette Colvin, who is the real Rosa Parks. And the Democrats staged the Rosa Parks, famous Rosa Parks incident, the public bus and all that. But the real Rosa Parks was a woman named Claudette Colvin. And Claudette Colvin just passed away. I believe she passed away yesterday, an extraordinary life story. Ignored by the left, of course, because she died at the age of 86. Claudette Colvin was the real Rosa Parks, the original Rosa Parks. And hopefully we'll be able to get to tomorrow if the Democrats don't give me too much stuff from my 3 hours tomorrow. But CBS News, the police officer, internal bleeding. No, he wasn't hit by anything. It's, they're faking it. It's a cover-up. Leslie Marshall, she doesn't believe it. They don't believe it. Facts are not their friends.